Welcome back to Make It Monday, and this week I am starting on a new log cabin blanket, and I'm doing it again with some donated yarn. So it's going to be a lot of smaller balls that are going to make up the blanket. So I have 4 variations of neutrals, mostly cream colors, cream, taupe, brown, that are going to be the outside of these squares, and then I've got some pops of color for the centers. So let me get things turned around and I'll show you how the centers get started. So the very first thing that I do on the log cabin blankets is I make a slip stitch that I'm going to be casting on. This time around I'm casting on 18 stitches. And then I will be knitting across and then slip one, knit one from then on out. I use cable cast on for this. I find it to match the elasticity of the rest of the project well enough that it doesn't mind as much that it's in the middle, so there's not a harsh edge that doesn't stretch in the middle of a project. So I'm going to cast on 18 and then work back, but I will show you how the outer ring, so I am only doing 2 rings, or a center and one ring, for this version of the blanket. So it's going to be a colored center and then a neutral ring around it. So I will be back to show you the end or the center, the picking up around the center in a little bit. So be back. So here I have the center of the last square of the blanket. And so it's time for me to show you how more of this works. So along the edges, that slip stitch does make a very pretty V, which makes it very easy to slip in behind both legs of the V, pick up a loop, and pull it through. And that is done all the way across. Now I am using circular needles for this. I find it easier because for when I am taking the project on the go, which is frankly how most of my projects are done these days. But any project that is particularly wide, like a blanket, is also just easier on circulars in general, because then you don't have to have as long of straight needles to work on it. Okay, so that's all the way across, 2, 4, 6, 12, 14, 16, 18, and that's the correct number. Slipping the first stitch, yarn to the back, and knit across. And that is all that there is to this. Picking up from the cast on edge, I'm picking up, in my case, the slightly twisted V's. Depending on your cast on will determine what that looks like. This side is the exact same as the side I just did. And then side is picking up underneath the bind off. So I will be back to show how the last the last block of this, which will be on the bind off edge of the first section, connects to the block above it. So I'll be back just a bit to show you how that works. So here is where I need to connect this one to this one. This is the back, front, so front sides together, or if you're used to sewing right sides together, then I'm going to insert my needle in the first bind off stitch of this block, and not doing that, pull that stitch through, insert needle into the second stitch, knit through the stitch in the back, pull through, and then bind off as normal. And continuing that all the way across until the seam looks like that. So, and then that from the front, so it's almost invisible from the front. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to crochet the 2 or the 3 columns together, and crochet around the edge, and I will show you how everything looks when it is all done. Be back in just a bit. And here is the finished blanket. I'm gonna see how much of it I can get into frame. So it is the 40 by 60 roughly, and it did take a bit longer than I was expecting it to take. It was started in October, finished it day of release for video. But if you've made it this far into this video, please consider liking it. If you are new and you want to see more, please subscribe. And I will see you next time on Make It Mondays for a very special holiday video. See you next time. Bye.